Hi, this is RGK and today we'll have a look at City of Brass, a game by Uppercut Games. This development studio was founded by Irrational Games veterans, the studio behind Bioshock, SWAT 4 and Tribe's Vengeance. More recently they made Submerged, another third-person game. City of Brass means that they are back to their FPS roots, and this time it's a single-player roguelite FPS. We are projected in an Arabian Nights theme in a Middle Eastern city from the legends. This city was cursed, and its denizens are now skeletons, genies, and other sorts of genes. The player is probably there to steal the city's gold, but it's not possible to get out without lifting the curse after quite a few levels and boss fights. The main originality of City of Brass is one of its base weapons next to the saber, a whip. Just a heads up, in this footage, I added a freeze effect to my whip. The saber can be used with the left button of the mouse, the whip with the right button, and there is an alternate function on Q that I moved to middle mouse button. This alternate function allows to swing an enemy closer to you. This can be used to bring closer an out of reach enemy and finish it off with the saber, or it can be used to pull an enemy towards a trap. The main function of the whip is to stun an enemy with a headshot, or make it fall by aiming at the legs. There are big fat icons that show this. I didn't find how to deactivate them. Finally, the whip allows picking up items in a distance or swinging from rings, just like Spider-Man's or Indiana Jones. There is a little bit of parkour that is possible with the whip or platforms, but it's limited to a few treasure chests to find on the side and it's never a requirement. However, the whip adds a lot of class and dynamism to the fights, and it's a killer feature that should attract players to the game. It really feels like Indiana Jones, between the whip, the atmosphere, the treasures, the traps. I'm not hiding the fact that I love traps. By the way, if a girl has a desire to hit on me, bonus points if she puts a bear trap on my seat or a buzzsaw in my socks. What's a little annoying is that the whip is awesome, but the saber is not. It's just one type of attacks, and it's severely lacking something cool such as charge attacks, impaling, circle attacks, or even a parry. We are far from Shadow Warrior or Dark Messiah, which is a shame because Dark Messiah was the closest experience that came to my mind with the traps and all. You can trip enemies towards pits or impale them on spikes. There are fire pits to explode when the enemies are near, but more importantly, there are tons of items to pick up, by hand or with the whip, to burn, stun or explode. Even if the sword fights are not very nervous, the game balances it out with all the tactical possibilities and it's exhilarating. But beware, I must insist, if you came here to make skewers or kebab with your enemies, you will be disappointed. They are skeletons, you won't find any meat. But if you like to use the environment, you will have fun to your heart's content. Let's talk about the roguelite component. You know the drill, procedural generation and permanent death. Procedural generation is rather good here, the levels are interesting with a mix of well-guarded treasure rooms and courtyards that are a carnival of traps. There is one for everyone, kids and the elderly, any height will be fine as long as you die. If you walk through a back alley, guess what? More traps, such as vicious dart throwers along the walls. The first boss fight is rather difficult, and I must admit that I never noticed the attacks of the next boss, because I went through them like a breeze. When you die, you can use a portal to reach a later section, if it's after a boss you defeated. It's not a burden as in other games, because there are no experience points or stats that would justify starting from the beginning. It's very well possible to be successful with the base equipment and quickly acquire enough gold to buy better stuff. Equipment might be the worst part of the game. First, you don't know what something is used for until you buy it, thanks to an outdated roguelite model. Once you bought something, you'll always see what it does, but the descriptions are not very informative, and most importantly, there are no numerical values to indicate whether a weapon is better than another. But you know what, it does not matter, because there are too few items to buy. Genies are selling items, and once you reach 1/3 of the game, they were only showing me stuff I already had. Which is one of the reasons why you can start the game from later section and straight away buy the good stuff. There are genies who allow to deactivate traps. Obviously, I ignored them. I find it very rude when someone wants to remove my lovely traps. The player can benefit from 3 wishes to spend with the chosen category of genies. In reality, if you want an optimal play, you will just use those wishes to convert the 2 types of evil genies that attack you and thus transform them into defensive turrets. Keep the last wish for genies who give health. It upgrades 1 health point benefit to full regeneration. This is mostly the only way to get health back in this game. The genies are either giving you 1 heart per level with some luck, or you go full force and it's too much regen. Not a very balanced system. I wish there were other health sources. Another issue of roguelite games, which is made worse here, are gameplay modifications. For instance, increasing reach of the whip. It's a sort of subtlety that requires you to adapt a little bit to the game, especially in first-person view. And then we die, we lose a reach upgrade and our senses are confused and need time to adapt again. It's a problem that I often find with roguelites, but in first person it's much worse. Alright, to be the devil's advocate, variety is necessary so that each run is different. However, here it's not so important. I managed to complete the game within 4 to 5 hours. Rather thin for a roguelite, but you can spice up your run with bonuses or curses that you choose, yet it's not like Into the Breach, which was pushing player to play the game over and over in a different way each time. It still allows to remove the awful timer, an unreadable hourglass which does not let you take your time if you want to explore the levels. I need time to trigger all the traps and pick my little favorite. Speaking about variety, the game deals with it much better than most of our roguelites because there are day and night cycles and the enemies are different as you progress through the levels. The game even features an excellent opponent in the form of statues that cannot be injured with the base weapons. They only move when the player is turning their back to them. We have already seen this in the Doctor Who series or in the video game Eldritch, but I love this. They dissipate fear and terror. Furthermore, there are wizards and skeletons with a shield that are hard to hit. The skeletons without arms rushing the players are fun to fight, they remind me of Serious Sam. Some enemy projectiles are also homing, which I find annoying in City of Brass. There is an excellent sound design helping to locate enemies and treasures. As you probably noticed, the graphics are beautiful. For an in-game, it's top quality. Looking at the options menu, besides removing icons, there is everything that you might need. You can change the field of view, all the graphical options are here, just don't forget to set resolution to 100%, otherwise the game is ugly and you can rebind the inputs. One might also notice that the game works perfectly with a gamepad, which hints at a possible culprit for the lack of sword fighting features. We are drawing to the conclusion. After the failure of Mirage Archon Warfare from the depths of Chivalry, I was wondering whether an Arabian Night theme game would be attractive. The answer is yes. City of Brass is very charming and swings out of the crowd with its whip and traps, which combined together give an excellent feel to the game. It's refined, it's tactical, there are tons of classic combo possibilities like Indiana Jones and Dark Messiah, except that the saber is a bit underwhelming, and this won't convince the barbarians coming here in the hope of beheadings. And there is a lingering feeling of an unfinished game. The beginning is fantastic, but then the roguelite part doesn't feel well honed, the equipment is just confusing, and the further I went into the levels, the less I was surprised or amazed as in the very polished first levels. I'm still celebrating the possibility to adjust the difficulty, and that it is encouraged to take a portal to later parts of the game rather than starting over. The game is nowhere near perfect, but it's good, and will keep you busy a few evenings. It's my favorite roguelite FPS, but with the $25 price, I would recommend waiting for a bit, except if you're certain that you will enjoy what's on offer. I hope you enjoyed this video, bye bye!